Love Lesson 3, Who is My Neighbor, Part 2. All of us have a circumference around our life, and we go through circumstances, we meet an assortment of people. So our life revolves around a mix of individuals and groups of people. You engage these people, you have certain activities with them in your life. This is the circumference of your life. This is your circle of influence, and it encompasses those you come in contact with as you live out your daily life. Now let's take a look at the priest again. We see the priest as he came along had his own life agenda. The injured pilgrim, half dead, he had his own life agenda. The two circumferences come close to meeting, and the priest says, I don't want to let him into the circle of my life. His suffering is his suffering. My life is my life. So he kept the circle of his closed to the man. He just moved aside and walked on. The priest didn't enter the circle of the injured man's life either, and neither of those circles of life were entered into by the other one. Now that same principle applied to the Levite. Yet when the Samaritan came along, he had business. He had his own activities, and he could have said, your life is your life, my life is my life, bye. But he took that man into the circle of his life's activities. He got that man involved as a part of his own life, and he became involved in that man's life. Keeping in mind that all of us have a circle of influence, then it's who we allow into it. We make a choice. Strangers meet, and each has his or her own circle of influence, and they open up a part of their life to the other. So it's up to us to choose to open the door of the circle to let somebody participate in our life. Now, there are situations where the circle of your influence already involves others. Now, that's where your parents, your brothers and sisters, those who are close to you, that live under the same roof, they come into play. People in your office, your workplace, your school, they already are involved in the circle of your influence. And when Jesus said, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, he was talking about loving those who come within that circle of influence. He's not talking about someone whom you see infrequently. Now, that isn't to say that we don't love them or that we're not to love them, but we're defining our neighbor here. So Jesus was speaking of those we come in contact with all the time. Those with whom we converse and share ideas and stories and values and have activities with daily, weekly, monthly. We're around them all the time. When people get to know each other, they fall in love. And there are 3 stages to that love's development. The first stage, they discover what's nice about each other and they try to be the same. It's a subconscious action, really, and it's evidenced in their conversations. They look for similarities. Stage 2, they begin to see what's not so nice about the other guy. There are differences in opinion and differences in character and values, and they discover areas that lack similarity. In this second stage, they have to make a decision on how much they want to be involved in the circle of each other's influence. Now, if they survive that second stage, after knowing all that's good and all that's not so nice about each other, then stage 3 comes along, and that's when one can say, in spite of all that I know, I decide to love you. Now, at this point, love is matured. Prior to that, love is immature. It won't stand the pressure of life. Remember that all relationships fall under these 3 stages of development. And my point is this. You begin to develop love among those that you're closest to. Your husband, your wife, family members, brothers and sisters in Christ, those living under the same roof with you, those in your workplace, in your school. Your love has to develop to them first, before your love can develop to others whom you've not yet met. Now, when you react in circumstances, you're reacting out of what you already have in your heart. In the case of the priest and the Levite, probably they were accustomed to religious activities. They do them out of duty, and they have an objective and a goal. Yet perhaps they're the kind of people who don't mind stepping on people to pursue their spiritual gain. But they may not be those kind of people. They just may be people who are not moved by circumstances. When the Samaritan stopped to help the pilgrim, it would appear that this wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. It must have been part of his nature. So if you're someone who has a tendency to help others, then when that circumstance arises, you'll always react the same way. You'll help. If you're someone who avoids confrontation or avoids involvement, then in those kinds of circumstances, you'll always react the same. You'll stay uninvolved. Development of our character comes in our own private life. Look at the Samaritan's character. You can see by the way that the Samaritan talked to the innkeeper, like he was an old friend, telling him to charge everything to his account. You can see that he had developed a relationship here. So my point, once again, those who are in your circle of influence, if you don't love them and develop love for them, you'll never be able to love others who are outside of that circle. Nor will you be able to form love relationships with those inside your circle. First, you have to choose to show love to those within that circle. It's easy to love those with whom you lack continual contact because you don't have to see their unlovely side. But it's a different thing to show love to those you meet every day. You have to determine to love and keep showing love no matter what they do to you. It's not easy, and it's the very place where people fail or succeed in developing love in their life. Stay with us through part 3 coming up.